Welcome back to PH.d TV today, and today we'll be going over 5 whiskey brands, 5 American whiskey brands, and their best offerings. Alright, so this will be very similar to my top bourbon brands and their best offerings video, except this time we'll be venturing into American whiskeys, in which bourbons can be mentioned in this video, but regular whiskeys such as Tennessee whiskey or wherever they may be will also be mentioned in this video as well, so it's a free-for-all in terms of American whiskey. And the rule will still apply in this video that this has to be found in an everyday shopping store in terms of a liquor store, so specialty liquors that are local to areas or just niche to a particular group of people will be omitted from this list. This video is for us basic who like whiskey. So there's gonna be an honorable mention, and that will be under the house of Jim Beam, and that will be Jim Beam Black. This is a very simple, very good, very delicious bourbon. And in my opinion, if you put this in a decanter and you didn't tell anybody what it was, you could probably get away with something that's pretty freaking good. That's definitely not Jim Beam. I mean, it did win the best bourbon trophy at the International Wine and Spirits Award competition in 2016. The International Wine and Spirits competition in 2016. And it is considered to be a premium 86 proof bourbon whiskey that spends years longer being aged in American white oak barrels than the original Jim Beam. It's those extra years of aging that give Jim Beam Black its full-bodied flavor with notes of smooth caramel and warm oak. As I said, this is just a pretty freaking good honorable mention. So our first choice in this list that I'm gonna say comes from the house of Jack Daniels, and this is going to be Gentleman Jack. This is easily one of the smoothest mass-produced whiskeys you can find on the market. Keyword being mass-produced in comparison to some others. So there's that level of consistency that's getting extra points for. And what's really great about this is that for something that tastes so much better than the, regular Jack Black Classic, is that it's only $5 or $10 more for a better taste. This is the Maker's 46 of the Classic Maker's Mark. Twice as good for not that much more. And what makes it so much more special than Jack Daniels is that it is double mellowed in charcoal instead of just once like regular Jack is. And if my history recalls correctly, it is Tennessee's first double charcoal mellowed. So when you drink this, you're also drinking a little bit of history as well. And it works great with any cocktail outside of drinking it straight, which is fantastic in its own right. In the end, it does have an exceptionally smooth finish, and it balances out with oak flavors and notes of caramel and vanilla. Now this one, I'm so excited to say, Maker's Mark Cask Strength. If you watched my bourbon video, you obviously saw that I about chose this one over the Maker's 46. In short, this is Maker's Mark in its purest form. What makes Cask Strength is basically they put the whiskey from the barrel straight in the bottle. They don't dilute it. They don't pull it down to 40% alcohol, 80 proof, because the proof range of this can range from 108 to 114. If you're new to the alcohol game, proof basically means divide that number in half. That is what you will have in terms of alcohol percentage. So if you have a 100 proof bourbon, you will have a 50% alcohol whiskey. So you're gonna be looking at the mid 50s to late 50s in terms of alcohol percentages with Maker's Mark Cask Strength, which yes, that does mean it will have a burn, but if you're as big of a Maker's Mark fan as I am, having it in its purest form is an incredible reason to have it on this list. And it is surprisingly smooth, and this bourbon retains the signature front of the palate flavors of Maker's Mark while amping up the notes of oak, caramel, vanilla, and spice. It is delicious. Next, we're going over to the house of George Dickel. And this is an oldie but a goodie. And in fact, I'm pretty sure George Dickel is one of Tennessee's first distilleries ever. In 1816, I believe, is when it opened up, and on the website it said 40 years after Declaration of Independence. So if my math's right, I'm pretty sure that's right. 1816. And even being told that, it is winning awards up to this day. Time out. I forgot to tell you what was their best offering. Their George Dickel number 12 is their best offering. This guy. Oh, no. Oh. This guy right here, George Dickel number 12. Such a pretty color in the light. So the number 12 being in this list, going back to what I was saying before, it is still winning awards to this day. It actually won Best Tennessee Whiskey in 2015 at the San Francisco Spirits and Wine Competition. Hey, I said it right that time. And I want to say this was the first whiskey that I ventured into after having Jack Daniels. First Tennessee whiskey I had after venturing from Jack Daniels, because Jack Daniels is the first one any of us have. And when it comes down to classic Jack and George Dickel number 12, I'm going with Dickel every time. And the concentrated flavors do have oak and subtle vanilla, which lead to a long finish with hints of maple, butter, and smoke. And it is a whiskey with enormous depth, range, and personality, and it's considered by many to be the gold standard of Tennessee whiskey. Now this one is from a very classic house, evidently the first bottled bourbon according to the bottle, and that is from Old Forrester. And this one had a lot of pickings to choose from, especially if you're familiar with the brand. But today I'm gonna go with the 100 proof edition. Now I am someone, granted, who finds the Old Forrester classic 86 proof bourbon very boring, at least after the second glass. It is fantastic. I can't deny it's probably some of the best bourbon you can find on the market for relatively cheap, but I get bored with it after the second glass. But the 100 proof does have much better personality. In fact, if I'm being honest, there are probably a lot of other options from Old Forrester that are probably better, probably have a different taste that's more appealing to the masses, such as their 100 proof rye, their 1807 bottled and bond. I even know they came out with a Statesman bourbon, which was basically accompanied from the movie Kingsman, The Golden Circle. But I'm choosing the 100 proof because it is the one that does have incredible personality. It gets the job done. And also because if you've never had Old Forrester, it is a great place to start without going with these other expensive bottles and without boring yourself with the 86 proof. This is a great starting middle ground from a great brand that sells great bourbon in every facet, in every bottle, and everything it sells. This is just a great starting point, the Old Forrester 100 proof. And with having a higher proof, similar to the Maker's Mark cask strength, you will have a more full-bodied flavor, which its flavor is very spicy, robust, and bottled at 100 proof to maintain its distinct flavor and flavor profile. And last on this list, we do have something from the house of Knob Creek, and the one I'm going with will be the Reserve Single Barrel, or is it Single Barrel Reserve? The label says one thing, the website says the other. Regardless, I've had it divine. And this is going to be by far one of the more, actually it is the most potent choice of any of these options. It does sit at 120 proof, which again, if you heard me earlier about the math of what proof versus alcohol means, that is 60% alcohol per bottle. That's hot. You know, and come to think about it, I'm going to say that's probably a really unfortunate whiskey name to have overseas in the UK. And this is a very classic, good tasting bourbon. You've heard people talk about Knob Creek, and if you haven't, you will once you start a conversation with somebody. And this one specifically, it is their darkest and deepest amber, and it does have a hint in color. As well, the taste is deep and complex with flavors of vanilla, nuts, and oak. And furthermore, the aroma is robust with vanilla and caramel notes, which is slightly smoky, and the finish is long and full, which is perfect for easy sipping. If you like this video, like it, and if you feel like this is something that someone else would find interesting, please share it. And if you'd like to see more content like this, hit subscribe right here, and I'll be sure to take care of that and basically put some more things up on the Spirits and More channel. Above all, in the world that we live in today, please be careful out there. Do what you have to do to stay safe. And something that I should have said at the end of my last video, and I'm going to do my best to remember saying this at the end of each and every one of these Spirits and More videos. Please drink responsibly. Everyone's life is important in this world, and we want to take care of each other. Drink responsibly, my friends.